Hello everybody, thanks for a good turnout for what we're doing is to pay tribute to the working people who actually built Saltburn-By-The-Sea with their hands and their trowels and their spades and everything. We hear plenty about the moneyed people who put the money in, thanks to them, but at the end of the day, without the skilled tradesmen and other people, this town would simply not have happened. But Callum forgot to thank two people. First of all, the anonymous person whose chimney stack we took down to provide the bricks. They haven't missed them yet till they put the fires on in winter. And also, I personally, on behalf of Kath and I, would like to thank Callum for all the work he's done in arriving at this particular point. Without Callum, we wouldn't be stood here. He has done a tremendous amount of work, having been in Scotland as well. The electronic age has helped a lot. The number of emails that have piled up on my computer are unbelievable. Do this, do that, do the other. But he's been project manager, and I think he's made a superb job of getting to this point where we are. As we say, we're not quite complete, but everybody else opens a project and does an official opening about 3 years after they've been running traffic on it, roads and things like that. We're a bit different. We did actually paying tribute to the working man, going to have chimneys rising out of the car park and everything else, but somebody else pitched the idea a few weeks back, so we've forgotten that. What I'd like to do is, you should give Callum a bit of a clap. Come on. Very modest, but he has worked very hard, and I personally am very happy with the results of today. We'll be a lot happier once we've got the capping on the stone. A little bit of history now, and this is where the mass band comes into our little bit of history as well. The Stockton and Darlington Railway was brought up and finished up at where Newmask is now, at what they called the Bleeding Mine. And the mass band has its roots in the miners who worked in that mine. They formed a band, and if you trace the roots of the mass band back, it goes back to the Bleeding Mine. And I think this is, I can't say any of the original members in the band at the moment. There'll be some descendants there, no doubt, though. Somebody will claim, just a minute, I can see somebody there from the original band. It's sat at the front here. Well, parliamentary approval was given for an extension of railway to Saltburn and to East Cleveland, after originally it was just going to go to East Cleveland. But Henry Pease, who was a Quaker, a developer, and he actually served his time as a tanner in the leather trade, believe it or not. But he had a vision of building a purpose-made seaside resort where this railway was going to terminate at this bleak, wintry top on here. And he managed to get the railway to come through to the town. The Stockton Darlington Railway Company planned the station, planned the Zetland Hotel, and basically planned the ribbon of land coming in. Then a plan was drawn up to develop the whole of the town, and plots of land were sold off to developers to go around the place. But one important event took place, and that was the provision of accommodation for both the workers and a temporary station for the railway. And this was called Alpha Place. Tenders were invited to build a property of 6 dwelling houses, with a further 6 to be developed later on. And the 6 that were first of all developed were to be called Alpha Place, and this was would you mind stepping back out of that lady's parlour, please? She's not very happy with you standing there. That's where the parlour would be, where this front row of people are stood, of the houses on Alpha Place. So we've hit just about the middle of it. And, at the back of Alpha Place was just a 12-foot back street, and that was the only access if you were proceeding along Milton Street. Now, William Peachy actually laid a few bricks on Alpha Place in 1860, late 1860. Then Henry Pease actually put the foundation stone, which we believe was the Alpha Place sign, which is on parade, in position on the terrace. We then, in 1861, very quickly, on the 1861 census, there was a bricklayer called Henry Shippard and his wife living in there. But numbers 1 and 2 were given over to the railway. And I would like to read you this little public notice. To the public, the Stockton and Darlington Railway Company beg to announce the commencement of passenger services from Saltburn Station at 6 o'clock in the forenoon of Saturday, the 17th day of August. The forbearance of passengers is humbly requested in using, for the time being, facilities provided by the company's properties of numbers 1 and 2 Alpha Place. These will be superseded with the utmost haste by a superior station in the course of completion. Signed by Thomas McNair, Secretary of the Railway Office of Darlington. So that the first one was occupied by an Arthur Brown, who was a renowned photographer nationally, but also he was the station master and the first postmaster. But he also had a sideline in working with Jet. So people in those Victorian days did a bit of moonlighting as well as they do in this present day and age. But that was really the commencement of everything. In 1861, George Dickinson won a design for a new township of Saltburn-By-The-Sea and developed from there. But if you walk around Saltburn-By-The-Sea, it's been a piecemeal development over many years. Most complete street, I believe, is Loon Street, which fitted in with the original theme of white peas bricks. Now, where did those white peas bricks come from? How were they brought here? They were brought on the Pease's Stockton-Darlington Railway. They were bought and by the builders to build these magnificent buildings that we've got today. We have lost a few, but there. But I'd like just to tell you a little incident at number 1 Alpha Place. The gale winds were blowing. Mr. Moutray lived in that house. I believe there's still some Moutrays about at the moment. And the chimney stack was blown over and crashed through the roof, lodging in the room below. And very fortunately, of the 2 beds in the room where most of the brickwork fell, one was unoccupied. The young man being at work, his bed was covered with bricks and other debris. The other occupants escaped without serious injury, which apparently, when you viewed the wreck of the house outside, was remarkable. So it wasn't without, that was in 1984. The council in 1899 borrowed money, about £3,000, after public inquiry, a local board public inquiry, to demolish and extend Milton Street. There was one of the local councillors wanting to buy Alpha Place and keep it where it was, but the council overruled him, and the council borrowed on a 50-year loan, 50 years, £3,000 to be able to demolish Alpha Place and extend Milton Street. And as a result, what we've tried to do today is to represent a piece of that terrace torn out of that house. And we talk about white bricks, but they aren't actually white, are they? And some of these are a bit soot-grimed from the steam engines. But what I have got, and people are quite welcome to have a look, shows the proximity of the railway to Alpha Place, where you're stood, just beyond where you're stood now. That's where the locomotives. The locomotives, we believe, were brought from the workshops at Darlington to be photographed in front of Alpha Place. There's such a series of photographs like this about. The property, there's a map here to show where the property was, marked in red. But if you look at the green, that's the other 6 houses that were built, and you look at the similarities of those 6 houses which are still standing, you're getting a rough idea of what Alpha Place looked like. So they're there for you to have a look.